You just turned 30 and you think you've got time. You think you've got another decade to figure things out, to get serious, to really start building the life you want. And I'm here to tell you something that nobody else is going to tell you. You don't have time. The next 10 years, from age 30 to 40, are the most critical years of your entire life, and most people waste them. Most people sleepwalk through their 30s and then wake up at 40 wondering where the hell the time went and why they're not where they wanted to be. And the crazy thing is, nobody talks about this. Everyone talks about your 20s as this experimental phase. Everyone talks about your 40s and 50s as your peak earning years. But your 30s, nobody prepares you for what actually happens in this decade. And that's exactly what we're going to break down right now, because if you understand what I'm about to tell you, if you take action on this, your life at 40 is going to look completely different than 90% of people around you. Let me start with something that might shock you. The decisions you make between 30 and 40 will determine more about your life outcome than any other decade. Not your 20s, where you're still figuring things out. Not your 40s, when a lot of patterns are already set. Your 30s are where everything crystallizes. This is where your career trajectory gets locked in. This is where your financial foundation either gets built or crumbles. This is where your relationships either deepen into something meaningful or fall apart. This is where your health either stays strong or starts declining in ways that become permanent. And here's the thing that nobody tells you. The window is smaller than you think. You don't actually have 10 years. You have maybe 5 or 6 years of prime opportunity before things start getting significantly harder. Now, I remember when I turned 30 and I thought I had all this time ahead of me. I thought, okay, I'm still young. I can still pivot. I can still change direction. And that's partially true. But what I didn't understand then, and what I wish someone had told me, is that your 30s are not like your 20s. In your 20s, you can mess up and bounce back easily. You can change careers 3 times. You can move cities. You can reinvent yourself completely. Your 30s don't work that way. Every decision you make in your 30s has compound effects that are much harder to undo. If you waste 3 years in your 30s, you can't just get them back. The opportunity cost is massive, and most people don't realize this until it's too late. Let's talk about what actually happens in your 30s that makes this decade so critical. First, your energy levels start changing. Now, you might not notice it at 30 or 31, but somewhere around 33, 34, you're going to notice that you can't party like you used to. You can't stay up all night working and then bounce back the next day. Your recovery time gets longer. Your body starts demanding that you actually take care of it. And this is not a bad thing. This is actually a signal. It's a signal that you need to start being more strategic with your time and energy. You can't brute force things anymore like you could in your 20s. You need to work smarter. You need to prioritize ruthlessly. Because the person who figures this out in their early 30s has a massive advantage over the person who's still trying to operate like they're 25. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Your 30s are when your earning potential either explodes or plateaus. Think about it. Most people graduate college around 22, 23. They spend their 20s learning, getting experience, figuring out what they're good at. By 30, you should have about 7 to 8 years of real work experience. This is the moment where you either leverage that experience into higher positions, better opportunities, more income, or you stay stuck doing the same thing you were doing at 27. And the gap between these two paths gets wider every single year. Someone who aggressively builds their career in their early 30s can be making 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more by their late 30s than someone who just coasts. And that income gap doesn't just affect your 30s. It compounds for the rest of your life. Let me give you the numbers, because this is where it gets really clear. Let's say you're making $60,000 a year at 30. If you're strategic, if you're intentional, if you're building skills and taking on more responsibility, you could be making $120,000 to $150,000 by 35, and maybe $200,000 plus by 40. But if you coast, if you just show up and do the minimum, you might be making $70,000 or $80,000 by 40. That's a difference of over $100,000 a year. And it's not just about the money. It's about options. It's about freedom. It's about being able to make choices based on what you want, not based on what you can afford. The person making $200,000 at 40 has completely different options than the person making $70,000. Different housing options, different ability to invest, different ability to take risks, different ability to help their family. Everything is different. And here's something most people don't think about. Your 30s are when compound interest either becomes your best friend or your biggest regret. If you start investing seriously at 30, even modest amounts, you have 30 to 35 years until traditional retirement age. That's enough time for your money to compound multiple times over. Someone who invests $10,000 a year starting at 30 will have dramatically more wealth at 65 than someone who starts at 40, even if the person starting at 40 invests more per year. The math is just brutal. Every year you wait in your 30s is a year of compound growth you're giving up forever. And I'm not just talking about retirement accounts. I'm talking about building wealth, building assets, building things that generate passive income. Your 30s are when you need to be building the foundation that will support you for the next 50 years of your life. Now let's talk about relationships, because this is huge and nobody talks about it honestly. Your 30s are when your social circle completely transforms. In your 20s, you got tons of friends. You're meeting new people all the time. You go out constantly. Your social life is abundant. Then you hit 30 and something weird starts happening. Friends start moving away. Friends start getting married, having kids, buying houses in the suburbs. Everyone gets busy with their own lives. And suddenly maintaining friendships requires actual effort and intention. And here's what happens. Most people let their friendships drift. They stop putting in the work. And by 35, 36, they look around and realize they don't really have deep friendships anymore. They have acquaintances. They have people they knew in college who they see once a year. But they don't have that core group of people who really know them and support them. And this matters more than you think, because your 30s are also when life gets hard in new ways. This is when you start dealing with aging parents. This is when you start facing real career setbacks and challenges. This is when relationships get tested. This is when you need people. And if you haven't invested in those relationships, if you've let them drift, you're going to find yourself feeling isolated and alone right when you need support the most. The people who thrive in their 30s are the ones who are intentional about their relationships. They make time for their friends even when life gets busy. They cultivate deep connections. They build a community around themselves. Because life is long and you can't do it alone. Let me talk about marriage and kids for a minute, because whether you want these things or not, your 30s are when the decision becomes real. For women especially, there's a biological clock that becomes more pressing. But even for men, there's a practical reality. If you want kids, your 30s are probably when it's going to happen. And this is a massive decision that affects everything else in your life. Your career, your finances, your time, your freedom, everything changes. And here's what I see all the time. People drift into these decisions without being intentional. They get married because it's what you're supposed to do at a certain age. They have kids because everyone else is having kids. And then they wake up a few years later feeling trapped and resentful because they never actually thought through what they wanted. Your 30s are when you need to get brutally honest with yourself about what you actually want. Not what society expects, not what your parents want, not what looks good on Instagram. What do you actually want your life to look like? And then you need to build towards that with absolute clarity and intention. Now here's something that's going to sound harsh, but it's true. Your 30s are when you find out if you're actually going to be successful or not. By the time you hit 35, the patterns are pretty clear. You can see who's on an upward trajectory and who's stagnating. You can see who's building something meaningful and who's just going through the motions. And the gap gets wider every year. The person who's intentional and strategic in their early 30s is going to be in a completely different place by their late 30s than the person who's just coasting. And that gap becomes almost impossible to close after 40. Because by 40, you've got responsibilities, obligations, patterns that are really hard to change. Your 30s are your last chance to make major pivots without huge consequences. Let's talk about health for a minute, because this is where a lot of people mess up. In your 20s, your body just works. You can eat garbage, not exercise, sleep 4 hours a night, and you bounce back. Your 30s don't work that way. This is when your metabolism starts slowing down. This is when injuries take longer to heal. This is when bad habits start showing up as actual health problems. And here's the critical thing. The health habits you build in your 30s determine your quality of life for the next 40, 50 years. If you take care of your body in your 30s, you can be in great shape at 50, 60, 70. If you neglect it, you're going to be dealing with chronic health issues that limit what you can do and enjoy. And I'm not talking about becoming some fitness fanatic. I'm talking about basic stuff. Exercise regularly, eat reasonably well, get enough sleep, manage your stress, don't drink too much. These basics compound over time into either vibrant health or chronic problems. Now let me tell you what most people do in their 30s and why it doesn't work. Most people hit 30 and they panic. They feel like they're running out of time, so they try to do everything at once. They try to completely reinvent their career. They try to get in the best shape of their life. They try to fix all their relationships. They try to make $1 million, and they burn out within 6 months because they're trying to change everything simultaneously. That's not how this works. Your 30s are about being strategic and sequential. You identify the 2 or 3 most important areas of your life and you focus on those intensely while maintaining the other areas at a baseline level. Maybe for you it's career and health. Maybe it's relationships and finances. Maybe it's building a business and starting a family. But you can't do everything at the highest level simultaneously. You have to choose. And here's where people get it wrong. They choose based on what feels urgent instead of what's actually important. They spend their 30s reacting to whatever's on fire at the moment instead of building toward a clear vision. And then they get to 40 and realize they've been busy, but they haven't actually made progress on the things that matter most. Your 30s require a level of intentionality and strategic thinking that most people never develop. You need to know what you're building toward. You need to have a clear picture of what you want your life to look like at 40, at 50, at 60. And then you need to reverse engineer from that vision back to today and figure out what you need to be doing right now to make that vision real. Let me give you some specific examples of what intentionality looks like in your 30s. It means if you're serious about your career, you're not just showing up and doing your job. You're building skills that will be valuable in 5 years. You're building relationships with people who can open doors. You're positioning yourself for opportunities before they even exist. You're thinking 3 moves ahead like a chess player. It means if you're serious about wealth building, you're not just saving money in a checking account. You're learning about investing. You're building multiple income streams. You're thinking about how to create assets that will generate passive income. You're playing the long game. It means if you're serious about relationships, you're not just hoping things work out. You're having hard conversations. You're setting boundaries. You're being intentional about who you spend time with and how you invest in those relationships. And here's something that's really important. Your 30s are when you need to start saying no to things. In your 20s, you say yes to everything because you're trying to figure out what you like and you don't want to miss opportunities. Your 30s are different. You need to protect your time and energy ruthlessly. Every yes to something is a no to something else. If you say yes to that extra project at work, you're saying no to time with your family, or time working on your side business, or time taking care of your health. There are no free lunches. Everything has an opportunity cost. And successful people in their 30s understand this deeply. They say no to good opportunities so they can say yes to great opportunities. They eliminate things that are just okay so they can focus on things that are excellent. Now let's talk about money in a really practical way, because this is where a lot of people struggle. Your 30s are when you need to get serious about building wealth, not just earning income. There's a huge difference. Earning income means you trade your time for money. Building wealth means you create assets that generate money without your direct time investment. And most people spend their entire 30s focused only on income. They chase raises and promotions and higher salaries, but they never build wealth. And then they get to 50 and realize they're still completely dependent on their paycheck. They have no options. They can't retire. They can't take a sabbatical. They can't pursue passion projects because they never build assets that work for them. Your 30s are when you need to be thinking about real estate, about stock investments, about building businesses, about creating intellectual property, about doing things that will generate cash flow independent of your time. And I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, but I don't have money to invest. I'm still paying off student loans. I'm trying to buy a house. I've got expenses. I get it. But here's the thing. You don't need a lot of money to start. You need the right mindset and the right habits. Someone who invests $500 a month starting at 30 with a long-term strategy is going to be in a dramatically better position at 50 than someone who waits until 50, they have more money. Because you're never going to have more money if you don't start building wealth, building habits now. The amount matters less than the consistency and the time horizon. Let me talk about something that nobody warns you about. Your 30s are when imposter syndrome either gets conquered or becomes permanent. In your 20s, It's normal to feel like you don't know what you're doing because you actually don't know what you're doing. But by your 30s, you have real experience, real skills, real accomplishments, and yet a lot of people still feel like frauds. They still feel like everyone else has it figured out except them. And this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't believe in yourself, if you don't own your value, if you don't advocate for yourself, you get passed over for opportunities. Other people get promoted ahead of you. You stay stuck. Your 30s are when you need to develop real confidence, not fake it till you make it confidence, but genuine confidence based on evidence of what you've actually done and achieved. And here's what that looks like practically. It means keeping track of your wins. It means being able to articulate your value clearly. It means negotiating for what you're worth instead of just accepting whatever's offered. It means walking away from situations that don't serve you. It means betting on yourself, because here's the reality. Nobody's going to believe in you more than you believe in yourself. Nobody's going to advocate for you harder than you advocate for yourself. And if you're waiting for someone to notice your value and reward you for it, you're going to be waiting a long time. You have to claim it. You have to demand it. Not in an arrogant way, but in a confident, clear way. Now let's talk about what happens if you waste your 30s, because I think this is important to understand. You get to 40, and you look around and you realize you're in basically the same place you were at 30. Same job or similar job, same income or slightly higher but not dramatically different. Same relationship patterns, same health issues or worse. Same financial situation. And you feel this creeping sense of panic because you realize the window's closing. By 40, changing course is so much harder. You got more responsibilities. You've got a lifestyle that you're locked into. You've got less energy. You got less time. And you look at the people who were intentional in their 30s, and you see how far ahead they are, and you realize the gap is almost impossible to close at this point. That's the cost of wasting your 30s. It's not just 10 years, it's the compounding effect of those 10 years on the rest of your life. But here's the good news. If you're in your 30s right now, or even if you're in your late 30s, it's not too late. You still have time. But you have to get serious right now, not next year, not after this project is done, not when things settle down, right now. Because every month you wait is a month of compound growth you're giving up. Every year you drift is a year of momentum you could have built. The people who win in their 30s are the ones who wake up early, who take action before they feel ready, who are willing to be uncomfortable in service of their future self, who make sacrifices that their 40-year-old self will thank them for. Let me give you a framework for thinking about your 30s. There are really 5 core areas you need to get right: career and skills, financial foundation and wealth building, relationships and community, health and energy, and purpose and direction. You don't have to be perfect in all 5, but you need to be intentional in all 5. You need to have a plan for each area. You need to be making progress in each area, because these 5 things compound together. Your health affects your career performance. Your relationships affect your mental health. Your financial situation affects your options in every other area. Everything is connected. And the people who thrive are the ones who understand this and manage their life holistically instead of just reacting to whatever's on fire. So here's what I want you to do if you're in your 30s or approaching your 30s. Get brutally honest with yourself about where you actually are right now. Not where you wish you were, not where you think you should be, where you actually are in your career, in your finances, in your relationships, in your health. Write it down. Look at it clearly. Then ask yourself, if I keep doing what I'm doing right now, where will I be at 40? And if that answer scares you or disappoints you, then you know you need to change something. And then get clear on what you actually want. What do you want your life to look like at 40? What about at 50? What kind of work do you want to be doing? What kind of relationships do you want? What kind of health do you want? What kind of financial freedom do you want? Get specific. Write it down. And then reverse engineer from that vision back to today and figure out what you need to start doing differently right now. Because here's the thing that I wish someone had told me when I was 30. Your life at 40 is not going to be determined by luck or circumstances. It's going to be determined by the decisions you make and the actions you take in your 30s. Every single day is either moving you closer to the life you want or further away from it. There's no neutral. You're either building or you're wasting time. And the beautiful thing is, you get to choose. You have agency. You have power. You just have to use it. You have to stop drifting. You have to stop waiting for things to happen to you. You have to stop making excuses. And you have to start building with intention. Because your 30s are not just another decade. They're the decade. They're the critical window where everything gets decided. And if you waste them, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. But if you use them well, if you're strategic and intentional and willing to do the hard work, your life at 40 and beyond can be absolutely extraordinary. The choice is yours. The window is now. Don't waste it.